Hello, I am doing this completely without rehearsal, so forgive me if this is sounds impromptu, because it is. My name is Alan Tanksley, and I'm following up with a request to make a video that Tiffany asked me to do after we had a really great Skype interview the other day. And if I reach to the screen and it looks like I'm doing funny things, it's because text messages are coming in or what have you. Anyway, here we go. My name's Alan Tanksley. I am an interior designer in New York. I have had my own business since 1993. I specialize in high-end residential work. However, I also do work in some commercial settings, mostly with developers for their the building of apartments and condominiums and that sort of thing. I started my business in '93, as I said. Before that, I had a business partner, and we came out of working for the business was Mark Hampton. Mark Hampton being one of the kind of greats in our business, and I don't know who I'm speaking with, so you may know this already, but sort of one of the greats, the great people within the last 20th century, early 21st century. Anyhow, so I kind of come from this great pedigree within the company, within the business, and let's see, I'm looking at my screen to see what else we have going on. Essentially I'm from New York. I went to school out west. I'm from Southern parents, but I grew up on Long Island, which is why I don't sound like I'm from Long Island, because I had Southern parents, and they wouldn't let us speak in New Yorkese, especially Long Island. I came to New York in the early 80s, so I have lots of stories to tell, but I doubt they're appropriate for this. But it's kind of crazy days, and that was fun. Let's see. Current projects. Okay, let's see. I have a number of things going on. I just finished a big show house in New York called Kips Bay Decorator Show House. It's kind of I like the World Series of our business. It's the mothership of all of these show houses. And in that case, we are each assigned a room in a house, and this was a big Upper East Side house, and I got a great room, and I have tremendous press over it, and often told that it's the best room in the house, but then again, I think your friends always tell you that. But I think actually from my business and my colleagues and my contemporaries, I've been getting a lot of good feedback for that. Let's see. Then in terms of projects, I just finished something in Jackson Hole, this awesome house for a client in Boston, a family vacation house. I wish I was a member of that family. It couldn't be better. Let's see, in town I'm working on a townhouse on the Upper West Side, miscellaneous small projects for clients, out in and around New York City, people that I've been working with for years. Just about to start a high-rise project, meaning to say an apartment in a high-rise, and that'll be a big thing for us. And I'm not coming up with off the top of my head. I could probably round that out with a handful of other things. Some work in Brooklyn, other work in New York. That'll have to suffice, because I can't think of anything at the moment to go beyond that. Again, I'm just reading this as I go, so I'm shooting from the hip. The budget of my projects, I'd love to say they're all $5 million projects. I'd love to say they're all $1 million projects. They're not. But I do have projects that get up into those ranges, and often I have projects that are about half that, 500,000 and up. I have some things that are smaller. It depends who I work with and why. I don't know if I know them, if I want to take the project, if it's manageable, and if it works in our schedule and so on. I'll be brought in sometimes just to do something small, and maybe that leads to something bigger, but maybe it doesn't. So it's a little hard. It's a very wide range. Next question here is, what was my experience like with traveling with Tama? Okay, well, I didn't go on one of her special trips. I met her in Paris a year and a half ago, and we did one of those great tours of the flea market there, and that was a ball. I mean, I had met her before, but not to the extent that we became pals over there. So walking around in these great alleys and past the shops, and really catching wonderful ephemera, and I love antiques, and so I cut my teeth working for Mark Hampton meant that I came into the business, and antiques are what we did. There's a whole world that's now evolved, and I'm part of it too, with vintage and new and so on. But I really cut my teeth on antiques, so we could walk around, and it's great to have somebody that you can banter back and forth about periods and what that represented at that time, and I don't know, even the technology of how people could get things done at certain periods of time. But then just finding all that curious stuff that you find, as I said the other day in the interview, you could be walking around and then you just, stand and marvel that you see like, Queen Marie Antoinette's toilet, or hand mirror or some crap like that. But, which is fun. It's really fun to be with her, because it is all about the serious and the frivolous and the ephemera and the context, and also she knows her beans. Is really good. She's easy to be with. I don't know who exactly I'm speaking with, but she's great company. She's great company, and let's see what you bought while traveling with Tom. Nothing, no. But I saw a bunch of stuff. But my overlapping with her wasn't a big shopping trip per se. I'd like to do that with her, and I can see us doing so, but I haven't had the opportunity since then. So I saw a lot of things I would like to own, and certainly a lot of things I'd like other people I know to own. So that access, and some of the places she goes to where nobody goes. I mean, everybody goes to Paris, and that's cool. I wish I went more. But she, when she went to some other sites recently, Belgium, somewhere in Italy. I'm not coming up with some of this stuff either. Unusual spots that we don't go to. We go to London, we go to Paris, we do things, and it's really fun, but these are really unusual places. Let's see, how about the stories that these antiques tell? Well, I kind of covered that. I do love antiques. I love the story they have to tell, and then of course, you can't know where they were in history, but you can sort of get an idea, at least what they've seen in their history. I always wish when I went to London the first time, I remember just having this stupid wish that the buildings could tell me what they'd seen, and so far I haven't mastered that language. But same thing with the antiques. I imagine things even here in New York. What happened in the apartments before we were here? What happened in that house? What happened with that sideboard? Where did that light come from? Oh, it was, I have these great things at home, which were obviously very old Italian pieces. And I don't know what their early life was, but they were then mounted as lamps later on. Like, how did that come to be? Where is it? So that's the kind of thing with her that we can, suppose certain things and probably have a fairly good, education as to what might have happened. But that's part of the story. That's part of the fun. And there's a comment here. These are all my sort of taglines to talk about. Mixing old with new. Well, sure. That's how we do things. There are very few places and people who want to do a period room. When I came into the world of this high-end design in the 80s, it was there were period rooms. Pretty strictly back. Great rooms full of antiques. I think that's gone forever. I think that antiques will always have a place, and that they have a more specialized place in the mixture of new and old. And that's very much the language that I have. Right now, it's great having this vocabulary that comes from the old days, the education that came from the old guard, but then being able to mix it with the way people live now, and how I live, and how my clients live, and so on. Tama's niche in the market, and how she has access beyond what we find on the internet. Again, you can see I'm reading off this, but these are all things we talked about the other day. That's what makes it so interesting. At this point, when the industry changed and First Dibs came about, it was a great leveler, and there are great things about that. But the fact is, now everybody can find a broad range of sources and a far reach, and her reach goes beyond that reach, and that's really the great thing. in addition to all the places that people do know, but they don't know what they're looking at. And that's a real conundrum we have in the business, really, are people sort of almost being in competition with our clients, you see. But they're not having the fun we're having. They're not having the exploration and so on. There's nothing like going into a shop and feeling like you've discovered things, like in Aladdin's cave, and it's very different when you see that same thing online and it's beautifully presented on a white background, but when you kind of turn something over and there is something that you discover, at least you have the feeling that you've discovered it, and that adds to the story. So yeah, her reach is really good. Sourcing antiques, does it make sense for my business? Absolutely. I'd like to think in the next period of time that I will have new clients that I'll introduce them to the idea of shopping in this manner. And that's really a whole thing about educating clients and where I see value and where we can together see value and bring value to the client. And that's a big part of the story too. What you can spend on antiques versus doing a lot of other solutions. Economically, there's a whole education to the clients about really what you can get for the same or less money, and that's a story that really should be told too. I think so, especially since antiques have kind of been sidelined in a lot of people's minds because of the modern, the new, the pared down, everything looking the same. That actually there's tremendous value and stories and history and quality and all of this. And I think that if I have the opportunity to work, if you all move this forward, I'd love to be part of it because it is a vocabulary I'm very familiar with. I have a lot of history in it, and it's great working with her because we can just very casually and comfortably talk about these things because they're really woven into who we are and what we've seen and so on. I hope that I have done what I'm supposed to do with this video. I'm going to turn it off and hope that, oh Christ, this is 12 minutes long. All right, well, I'll see. Maybe it's too long. Thanks. Bye-bye.